I got a criminal justice degree from Penn State University. And then I got out and I couldn't get into law school. My LSATs weren't high enough. I would like to say I chose not to. It's like wasn't smart enough.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer.
Hey, this is Jim Brewer. What's up, man?
Hey, was that? I was thinking about yesterday all day. Was I feel like I like I said the right stuff, but like was I too much? Like with the
No. I mean, I would say maybe at first you seemed a little aggressive with the questions. Where were you on the night of wherever? Like that's how you came out, but then you kind of eased up, and it was good. It was a really good conversation, man. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, good. Yeah, and there's no way he doesn't. There's no way he doesn't have inside scoop. Like no one's that creative,
Right.
I have a hard time believing that. Yeah, there was just,
Yep.
like, in my head, I'm like, man, I don't know if you're giving every angle here. That's all. I'm like, I don't know if because is nonfiction mean it's real, which is really stupid. You say nonfiction, it means it's real, right?
Yeah.
It does, right?
Yeah. Nonfiction is real. Fiction is the fake. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he kept going to after I asked, well, it's just the mission is to get them out of there.
Right. Yeah.
No, I know that, but like, what was really going on there? Well, terrorists. What terrorists?
Yeah.
We took their leaders out for no reason. I know what the real reason is. It's called. All right, Mike Vecchione. I was actually watching him. He made me laugh. Like I was looking at his videos and he was cracking me up.
We got Mr. Mike here.
Yeah, let's not waste Mike. He's a comedian. We can't have comics sitting there waiting in their living room. Let's bring on a funny man, Mr. Mike Vecchione. Comedian, Mr. Mike Vecchione. Who? Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up, Jim? How are you?
It's nice to meet you.
Have we met? I've been on the road with you before.
Dude, this is what's driving me crazy. I'm sitting there, I'm like, I feel like I know him and I can't figure out what did we do together?
We did a couple cities together. Rich Aronovich is my buddy, and he couldn't do a couple, and he was like, hey, do you want to open for Jim? I'm like, I'd love to open for Jim. Jim's a legend. And I had a blast, dude. It was awesome. So
I remember that. I kept looking at you, and I don't know if it's too much weed in the past or whatever, but I'm sitting there.
Jim, you could just say it. It's Italians. We all look alike.
Well, yeah, to a degree. I didn't know if you were. I couldn't figure out if like you were Sebastian clone or you guys all kind of blend together.
I should be so lucky.
Yeah, we all should. We all should be so lucky. So I'm sitting there like a Jamboni watching feeds, and you came up and I found myself cackling my ass off, which is really hard for me. Like it takes a lot.
Comics, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't laugh at nothing. You know the way we do it. We do this, and then we go like this. Like, oh, okay, that's good. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
You hit a couple, and I don't know if you were at the Comedy Cellar, and I couldn't tell. I think it was the Comedy Cellar bits, and I'm like, oh my God! And I immediately reached out, and I kept looking at you, and I'm going, I feel like I know him.
Yeah,
like, how do I not know him?
Yeah.
Well,
but it's because you do a million. I mean, I don't know how much you're on the road now, but back it was maybe
years
10 years ago, and you were doing a million dates. Like you were doing a million dates. So
yes,
yeah, it's understandable.
It was when I was still using Rich. I remember.
Yeah.
And then he did the cruise boat thing, and then we started using him. I started, I was doing the dance thing. And then I started having him work recently again.
Yeah.
Because he'll do the dance thing. And I'm like, why don't you dance and do stand up? But so what are you doing right now? Please.
Something about him. I was at the Cellar the other night and I was going first on the show, and everybody knows like first on the show is like the crowd's not really warmed up yet. It's like you're kind of taking the bullet for the other comics and kind of a thing. Yeah. And he did such a good job like working them, and just like it's such a lost art form. It's like he was getting them and they were tight at first. They weren't bad, they're not bad crowd. They were just tight. They weren't used to what this is, you know what I mean? Yeah. So he like kept working them, calling attention to it, but not shaming them, kept working them, joke. And by the end, they were awesome. And then I went up and had a fantastic set. And at the end of the set, I was like, I mean, I have to acknowledge how great of a job, because it's really a lost art form, guys who can do something like that. Like maybe the common person probably most likely can't see what he did, but as comedians in the back, anybody who's been in the club, waitresses who are there night to night, you can see how high of a skill level that took to do that. And he did it kind of effortlessly, and it was amazing. So I brought attention to it on stage and then thanked him when I got off.
He was nervous. I mean, I've never had an issue. I mean, he always did the job. And then, like I said, he started doing cruise ships, and then I lost track of him. Then he was doing the dancing thing. And I went, Rich, how about, because the dancing thing, I have to say, at first I told him like, I don't know. And then it made me laugh. Yeah. And I'm like, why don't you come to Paramount, and why don't you do that and then stop, like the song stops, and then do your thing. And he murdered.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, each time he did this twice now at the Paramount, and I think once at Count Basie. I don't know if it was just in my head, but I felt like it was some of the most murderous shows that I did. And I truly think he set the tone of the whole evening of coming out there. He's, matter of fact, I remember I was up we were all backstage, and all the crew, they get comedians all the time at the Paramount, big names they get there. And they were all like, holy crap, Rich Aronovich, when he just goes off the cuff. I'm not sure I've seen anyone funnier. So we might have
funny, and it's the hosting thing it's a very unselfish thing. You know what I mean? Like when he was hosting, like at the side, he doesn't do the dancing, or I'm sure that destroys, but it's a very unselfish thing that you're doing, because you're setting the table for everybody else. And there's a way to do it that's a very selfish way to do it. Just get laughs for yourself, and then tons of, and I'm not belittling people who do tons of crowd work, but if you're doing all crowd work and nothing else, and then you work them into a frenzy, and then the first comic comes up and is trying to do jokes, they're like, well, I thought we were doing the other thing where
right.
And it really, it doesn't set the table for the, I understand it, but it doesn't set the table for the rest of the comics. What he did is a very, very unselfish, highly skilled thing. So I'll stop talking about it now. I'm not his agent.
No, that's all good. It's all good. We did a praise Rich Aronovich thing. He's going to love this. I'm going to get the neurotic call. Hey, okay. Yeah, no, I'm glad you did that.
Looks like you're going to have to send out 2 sets of clips.
You're in New York. Are you doing a lot of road stuff, or are you basically hitting the New York club scene?
No, I've been in New York 20 years. I've been doing comedy 24. So I've been on the road. I'm still not drawing like many comics the way that I want to. Hopefully this will change that. So I'm on the road. I did an hour with my friend Nate Bargatze. He was kind enough to direct and produce my special a couple years ago. Like I think it was last year. It's called The Attractives. Hulu bought it. And, it's on Hulu now, but so I was touring off of that, and now I've just set a date to shoot another one with him in Nashville, and hopefully I'll be able to tour off that.
Where are you doing that at?
The Zanies in Nashville.
Yeah, great room.
Yeah.
That's a great room.
Yeah.
You've been there, right?
I did my special at the big room, which was the main Zanies. They just opened the Zanies Lab, which is a 100-seater right next to Zanies. So I'm going to shoot the next one there.
Where did it? Is it part of the same building complex?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't been there yet to see it, but it's right next to it, and 100-seater, kind of like I guess the Hollywood Improv.
Okay,
it's similar to that, but it's like 100-seater, which is good for me because I'm used to these. I'm used to like the downtown clubs in New York, kind of a thing. So I like that. I like when they're right up in your face.
Well, we'll have to. So something I started looking. I didn't know you were a teacher in the past.
Yeah,
like a special needs or special ed.
Yeah.
So what
emotional students with emotional and behavioral problems. I got a criminal justice degree from Penn State University, and then I got out and I couldn't get into law school. My LSATs weren't high enough. I would like to say I chose not to. It's like wasn't smart enough to get into law school, which ended up being a blessing. So I started working with gang kids at a school called Glen Mills, which was for adjudicated kids, just because I needed a job. And then I got a job at another school for kids with mental health problems, got kicked out of Philadelphia schools. And then I went at night and got my master's in special education. It took me 5 years. And then I taught in city schools, and I taught in the suburbs. And then
how long did you do that for? How long did
total
you
of 8 years? Total of 8 years. 3 years working without a degree, behavioral management, and 5 years of teaching in a classroom.
So you started hitting stand up around 30? How old are you? Your 40s?
I'm 51.
28. Yeah. So you were just staring at 30.
28.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how did you make that transformation going from teaching like that and all the schooling you did? How'd you get on stage and go, I'm going to start doing stand up?
Well, you have to understand, like, it's 2000 when I started hitting I'm in Philadelphia. It's 2000. There's no YouTube. There's no Twitter. So you can do stand up anonymously. You know, my kids knew I did it, but no one really, there wasn't this boom that there is now with social media.
Right.
And everything.
Right.
I probably, even though I'm clean, I would, people would get fired, you know what I mean? For even saying something that people disagree with now. So it's crazy. But back then it wasn't like that. So I was finishing up my master's, and I was single, living by myself. I had just gone through a bad breakup, and I was like, well, I always wanted to do this, but I never. So because years before I had taken a stand-up comedy class, but I never pursued it because I was going to get married and I was working and I just didn't have time, and the intention wasn't there to do it. So we broke up, and I'm by myself. I'm finishing up my master's, and I started just going to open mics at the Laugh House, which is on South Street, and it was.
But what made you do that? What made you like? When I was younger,
I always wanted to do stand up. I always really wanted to do stand up, and
who was your guy? Who was your guys? Like my guys were. It was like I was big time Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Sam Kinison, Eddie Murphy. That was my Mount Rushmore amongst spread wide. And was there certain comics where you're like, oh, this guy is the one? Who were your comics?
Well, growing up, I got to say that, no one really talks about him anymore, but my family, we used to gut laugh at Richard Jeni.
Oh my God.
He did the whole thing about an Italian family going on Family Feud.
Oh my God.
He did a whole thing. He has a whole bit. It's on YouTube now about Jaws, about being on the road and being bored and watching Jaws. And I still watch it today. It's hilarious. The movie slaps you in the face with how dumb it is. It's the greatest. I thought it was so, so funny.
You know what, Mike, you just totally brought me back, because my first, I forgot he was a huge influence for me once we started, because I was doing open mic in Florida, Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete. And as an open micer, and I started I'm thinking I'm the coolest and the best open micer or whatever. Richard Jeni, only because he was from New York and I was from New York, and went, oh, I want to see this guy from New York. I, to this day, can honestly say there's no way I've ever laughed that much harder in my life at another comedian.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard. He did the whole referee bit.
Oh yeah,
at the game.
Yeah.
He has the power, and I couldn't breathe. I was like, and then he did this whole Christopher Cross, the way he sings.
I remember that one.
I remember it like yesterday.
It's like he's always driving by.
Yes. Yeah. away. And what the genius of Richard Jeni was, he would, and I put Gaffigan up there too. They'll take a premise and stay 10, 15 minutes on the premise. And every time you think, all right, there's no way he can milk anything, he takes another turn. And you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Richard Jeni, God rest his soul.
Yeah. So growing up, he was like a huge guy.
The Family on Family Feud. I gotta watch that, dude. Dude, we gotta watch that.
The Testosteronies, the Testosteronies. And he also had a thing on the Brady Bunch. He's like, this is the perfect. I remember thinking that watching the Brady Bunch, like, this is the perfect family. What's wrong with? And he's like, what's wrong with these losers that I'm with?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I got a family of losers. Like, that father is up 6 a.m. when a tuck's on. I'm going to donate to a charity and drop you kids at school. It's a perfect family. It's like, but I remember thinking that as a kid watching the Brady Bunch. It's like, this is not the same as what I'm growing up with here.
Yes. Wow. All right. So Jeni's your big guy.
Richard Jeni's a big guy, but then Attell is my favorite guy, man. He's just like, I know him personally now, and that makes me love him even more as a stand-up. But just comedically, he's the greatest, man. And for a club comic, he's for my money, he's the best guy, man.
He made, I tell a story all the time, but he made me just suck air. He didn't make me. We did this event and I ate it so hard after him. I mean, this was a stadium. And, I just was at the end of Saturday Night Live. My peacock feathers were still high in the air. No one really knew who he was. And he only had to do 15 minutes. And he did the machine gun, kick your ass, Dave Attell material, brought the place in a frenzy. And I just sat there like, this is not going to go good for me. And it didn't. And it did not. It was horrifying. I got to tour with him. I got to tour with him and Jim Norton and Bill Burr.
Yeah.
And I got to watch him.
Two other great ones who've had a huge influence also coming up in New York. It's like Bill Burr was still like, no one knew who he was when he was in New York. No. He's still very funny. His half-hour Comedy Central special really holds up. It's really funny. But just even, I think Opie and Anthony, that the Philadelphia thing, and
huge. That was a big one.
And there's incremental things to where he's like, everybody knows him now and he's a legend. And the same thing with Norton. These guys have been around, and and I have to say, like, I don't know where like you developed in New York, but I came at the tail end of the Boston Comedy Club in New York.
Yeah. Well, that was a major piece. That was me, Jay Moore, Dave Chappelle, Dave Attell. I think Norton would go there. There was Wanda Sykes was there a lot. Keith Robinson, Tony Woods.
Yeah,
and
Tony had a night there when I first started. Blue Monday.
Tony did?
Tony had a night. He was never there because he was always in D.C. He lives in D.C., but he had a night, and Marina Franklin used to run the night. The comics, the reason it would hang out there is because comics would run the shows it was still Barry Katz. So the comics would run the shows during the week, and then it'd be club shows on the weekend. So you could go there and get up at a New York City club, which was a huge deal back then, you know?
Yes. So yeah, that was a great room for me. And then the comic strip was my other room. I did the cellar.
Right.
The cellar was a room to humble. Like I would get humbled there. It's like I would murder uptown and I'd come downtown and it was just this different energy.
Yes.
It was a darker energy, and you know, I'm not a dark guy, so it's a little, but I would pull it off, but I didn't always enjoy going. I'm like, oh god.
But that's amazing because that was the thing. I would try to work the jokes, develop them uptown, and then come downtown to cut the fat off.
Same. That's exactly what I'd do. So I'd go even to Boston, which is murder metal, and then go uptown the comic strip, murder at the comic strip. Be like me, Ray Romano. I had to follow Ray Romano and Wanda like 40 straight Fridays and Saturdays. You know, Ray would be like, hey, does this work? He'd take out keys. Is this funny? My twins love it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. And he, I remember one time I came off stage, I had a show being developed. It was very similar to King of Queens. I lived upstairs. We just got married. We were blue collar, but and I went up to Ray and like, Ray, you know, if you don't got nothing going on, I think you should be the head writer and the head guy for this show I'm developing. I kind of got something working on. And I just remember him. I remember going, yeah, sure you do. You know, you just missed a big opportunity. Bing! And I'm still with the shovel, like, oh my god! And his car got stolen. That's crazy. From the comic strip, and he comes in, and he's like, they took the minivan. My wife's gonna kill me. She said, don't bring the twin seats were in there. Oh God, now I got no baby seats. Oh, I loved those days. And then I'd go to the Comedy Cellar, and then, you know, they let you know, like, yeah, no, that works uptown. Get to the hard stuff real quick.
Get to the joke. I love because the crowds. I mean, for the people who don't know, those crowds are right up on you. Like the comic strips are a little bit like deeper. There's like it's more space. It's like the Cellar and the Boston, they were right up on you. So it's like if a joke murdered, you could really feel it. But if it bombed, you could really feel that too.
Oh God, really bad. Bad.
I gotta say about Ray Romano, like this is like not too long ago. It's for maybe 5 years ago or something. I'm at the Cellar and he doesn't come in that much. He comes in once. He come in once in a while, but he came in. And I'm going to go, you know, it's like that thing where it's like he's going to go up. It's like, well, let's go check him out. Let's see what angle he's got. And, you know, in the back of your mind, it's not a malicious thing, but you're thinking like, this guy's a sitcom star. He's he's been, you know, in movies. He's a sitcom star. It's like, it can't be good. It can't be. It's got to be soft. It's got to be soft. It can't be sharp. It's got to be soft. Not that he's not super talented, but he's doing like 50 other things. It's like, there's no way his stand-up is on point. So
busy.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm listening to it, and it's like he's just legitimately destroying. Not like tricks to make the audience laugh. He's legitimately destroying. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is. Well, I mean, where's he working this out at? I mean, I figure he comes there to work it out, but I haven't seen him. So it's like it's already like worked out. Maybe he's working it out now, but it's just hilarious. Just really tight and really well done.
He was another one that just always was tight and a great writer.
Yeah.
I always admired, and just a good human being.
Yes.
I loved good human beings. He was a good human being. I guess he still is. I shouldn't say was. See, now you got me intrigued. Now I want to go see Ray Romano in concert if he plays anywhere, just to see what he's doing.
Yeah, I'd like to see his next hour.
So you were doing that, and then so now you hit the stand-up. But did you start it?
I was finishing my master's, living alone. I started, you know, in Philly, there were 2 clubs at the time. It was the Laugh House, which was in South Philly, and then the Northeast.
Helium?
No, wasn't there yet.
Helium.
It was It was a comedy cabaret, which was in a hotel in the Northeast, and it was a white a white club, and then we went to the black club, which is on like South Street, and it was really good because it was a mixed audience on Wednesday. It was open mic; they would get a real audience, and Thursday was a different crowd, mostly couples, and then the weekends were totally different. So it was a nice experience, and that's the thing about black crowds. It's like if you're killing, man, there's nothing, and I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said, but they love you to death and you feel like $1 million. But if you bomb, boy, they just they really let you know that you're bombing, and it's like, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board here in a pretty big way because I can't keep doing this.
If you want to be humbled, you play in front of a black crowd. They'll let you know right away what they just I did one of those, and I had one of these. The whole crowd pointing for my exit. I'll never forget that. It's like 1993 Miami. I'm touring like the Uptown Comedy Club. I'm the only white guy, and the guy before me stripped. Place went bizarre. Whatever he was doing. And I go out like, so anyway, I grew up, and they're all, okay, I'm out of here. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry I wasted your time. Have a good one.
And then, you know, Talent, the comic Talent.
Yes. Yeah.
So I love Talent. Talent, like, put me on, like, I was passing in Clay. He would put me on shows that he had. He's like, come out and pay me. But like, wow, like, you know, and really like, was such a sweet, such a good guy, man, and a great comic, and he was such a sweet person. And he put me on, and I realized that with some of these crowds, like with a middle class black crowd, I would do okay, you know, I would do well, you know. But if it was like anything ghetto, I would top out at about 15 minutes. That's the most I could do. The most I could do is 15 minutes, and I would just hold my own. And then that's it. It's like, so anything offered more than that, I would be like, hey, I would almost talk myself out of work. You know, other promoters would be like asking me, I'm like, look, here's what I can do, and here's where it's going to go well, and then it's going to drop off, and it might be pretty sad after that. So,
yeah. Wow. All right. So those are tough ranks to come up on.
Yeah.
And so I would assume you're looking for. So now you're there. You're not part of a tour right now. You're not going to be gigging for a little while, or.
No, I'm on the road. I'm on the road with Nate a little bit. His tour kind of. He was doing arenas, and that's
it's
insane.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, we came up together.
How do you doing that? How do you do?
Everything's in the round. Everything's in the round, and wow. You know, he was doing I mean, I was with him when he was doing theaters, and then the next year it's like it's going to be some arenas, and then it just became all arenas. You know, he did Amazing. SNL. He hosted SNL. He's going to be hosting SNL again, and he just, you know, he built 2 arenas, and it's all in the round. That's how many seats he's selling. I was in Kansas City. Quick story. I was in Kansas City doing the weekend at the Kansas City Comedy Club. And the openers were like, well, Nate's going to be here on Saturday. So I text him. I'm like, are you going to be here on Saturday? I'm in town working the club. He's like, yeah, I'm there. Come to the arena on Sunday morning. Yeah. And we'll work out, you know, because we have the whole arena. And we'll eat. And then do the 3 p.m. show. And then we'll have the host plug the fact that you have shows at the club. We'll plug your shows. Because he had 2 shows, 3 and he had 3 and 7. He's like, we'll plug your shows too. So I go up, they do it. People drove from the arena to see me at the club. This was, in Kansas City the weekend of the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the weekend before the Super. It wasn't. It was the weekend before the Super Bowl, but it's insane. It was that weekend for him to sell that. He sold a 3 o'clock show. He sold
that's in an arena. In an arena, 3 and 7.
Yeah,
that's what I think. It's just amazing that comedians are hitting arenas, and it's just like it's and there's a bunch now. Like, I'm not gonna start trying arenas, which is just, I think that's huge for comedians, and it's huge and it says a lot about Nate too.
Yeah,
that he does that for you too as well.
Yes, it does. I mean, he doesn't just do it he does it for people, but I was the first special that he put on his platform. He's like,
which is so cool.
Very cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, because he would bark. Back when we started, he would bark.
What do you mean?
He would stand out on the street where the Boston turned into the Comedy Village. He would, in order to get stage time, they'd give him flyers. They put him on the corner. They may hand out these flyers, and then you can get stage time.
And so that's what you mean by
that's called.
Wow. So he's punk rock. He's out there punk rocking.
Yeah.
He's out there in the streets hustling.
Yeah.
Good for the guy. Good.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like when I walk around the corner, there's still guys doing that on the street, and I think to myself, don't overlook these guys, because Nate was one of these guys. Nate was one of these guys, and now he's in arenas.
It's amazing. So, well, you're not married, are you? Are you married?
I'm getting married.
Are you really?
Yeah, first marriage, 51.
Wow. How did this go down? How long you been seeing your fiance?
6 years. 6 years. And, she's a comedian. So we met in comedy. And then I thought she was very pretty and I wanted to date her, but she was dating someone. And so that was that. And she was dating someone else. And then I was dating someone else. And then years later, at the Montreal Comedy Festival 2018, we finally got together.
Who is she?
Her name is Katie Hannigan.
Wow. And she's a New Yorker?
She's a New Yorker.
Two comedians hanging out.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Do you guys, so when you're talking and stuff, we just had... We just went through this with another podcast that we had on, Kelsey
Cook.
Yeah, Kelsey Cook was on. I'm like, so what happens when you guys are talking?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's a great bit. You're like, yeah, but it's mine. Mine. You don't get to use that.
So he goes, no, it's mine. Go lay down. Go lay down. He talks to me like a dog. Go lay down.
So do you guys plan on doing shows together? Like, is that the dream? Like the two of you go out and do stuff together? Is she, and pardon me for not really knowing.
She goes on the road. I'm on the road more than she is. So she's in the city a little bit more. She's auditioning a lot. She has a theater
shows and stuff.
Yeah. She has a theater background. She's a great stand-up, but she's really good, actress. And like she helps me with my auditions. Like she'll coach me and help me. And then when I go on the road and I'm headlining, if it's local, I don't have a car, so I need somebody driving. But if it's local or whatever, then I'll have her open for me to do 20. And so it works like that right now until one of us can significantly sell. And then, the other one will open for the other one. That's how I see it.
Oh, it's such a great story.
Yeah.
When are you guys getting married?
March.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Planning it now.
You're just starting to plan it. So you haven't done
planning it and never thought it would, I'm shocked. Like I never thought it would. I thought I was kind of like, that wasn't going to happen for me, but surprised.
Good for you, Mike.
Yeah.
This is fun stuff.
Yeah.
We got to connect, and hopefully if you're available and willing to do a show or two. I'm not Nate. I'm not in arenas. Maybe next year, because I'm not. No,
but you were great, man. You were. We were doing theaters sold out when I was with you. Sold out theaters, packed.
Yeah.
And I remember watching you and going, because I know you for years, like everybody out. I knew you from SNL. Like I was aware of you for a long time. But stand up wise, after I would get off, bring you on, watch your act.
Yeah.
I was like, Jim is he's unbelievable. He's the quintessential theater act in terms of like, you're not standing there, like I'm there telling jokes. I'm more.
Right.
It's like, you're filling the space and the people are feeling you. You know what I mean? You're murdering, you know what I mean? And other guys can murder from here, but they're not filling the space of a theater the way that you're filling the space. I'm like, this is what a theater act should be. you know?
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm very animated. I'm a storyteller. Right. I'm a street corner storytelling kid. Right. And that's what I've always been. That's always been my strength. I act out. And that's why I like Richard Pryor is such a, because he acts out every single character in the story. Right. And that's what I do. Everything has a personality, everything. And so, I love doing it. And we'll see how next year goes. I'm going to tour till the end of this year, and we'll reach out if you're around. We'll see if we can get you on some dates if you're available and if you're willing and all that stuff. Yeah. And we got a couple New York ones and stuff like that. So as soon as we're done here, we'll reach out and see if you're available. And if you want to do it, that'd be awesome.
That's sweet, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, man. When you reached out to me, I was very excited, man. Thank you.
All right. Super cool. Mike Vecchione, go to his website, right?
At Comic Mike V. I tell people I have a long Italian last name that's frankly hurt my career. So it's at Comic Mike V. You can find me at Comic Mike V on all platforms.
That's why I couldn't find you on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking on TikTok. 57-year-old man on TikTok.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I do.
I can't do it.
Great. And I highly suggest everyone to check out the clips. I mean, it takes a lot for me to crack up and really enjoy someone. And it really bothers me that we did shows and it didn't come back to me until you said it. Like, it was one of those, I see you and I'm like, I know him from somewhere.
No, like I said, over 10 years
now I
remember. I would say over 10 years ago, and it was a few dates. It was like 3 dates.
No, it was a handful. Yeah, it was a handful of dates.
A handful of dates and 10 years ago. So I get it, man. I really
No. Well, okay. Well, hopefully we can get that going again. I appreciate you, Mike. All the best to you.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
And congratulations to you and your future wife.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Later, Gator. During these crazy times, go check out comedians like Mike Vecchione and whoever makes you laugh. Instead of putting all your energy towards whatever you're putting, if it's making you angry or making you upset or aggravating you, use the humor to get you out of it. Okay? As we watch many of your idols crumble before our eyes. It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to know some of the things you've known for a long time and people call you crazy. And now it's all coming to fruition. And wow, this place is, phew. I think George Carlin once said that this place is, it's either like a carnival and America is the front row seats for the carnival for the world, something to that degree. I don't want to botch up Carlin's quote, but at the end of the day, give yourself a break and find something to laugh about and keep your spirits up. And we'll see you next week on the Breuniverse. Thanks for hanging out here. Take a look around and what do you see? This is Jim Breuer, and I got my own Patreon page, and hopefully you'll check it out. Live comedy concert streamed once a month. Early access to the Breuniverse podcast every single week, and I have bonus footage and bonus segments. I promise you I'm not going to let you down. Go check out my official Jim Breuer Patreon page, and I'll see you there. I wanna wake up in a city that never sleeps. Bum, bum, bum. King of the hill. I'm on the top. Ain't number one. Ba, 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 ba. I got 3 arms.
Can I say something? Yes, you can. I want to say something.
Yeah.